Imagine you woke up tomorrow 30 pounds overweight. What would you do? Most people panic, they jump on a fad diet, or they start doing hours of cardio to try to burn as much fat as possible. But here's the truth. Losing weight is simple if you focus on the right things. I personally helped thousands of people lose fat, build muscle, and keep it off. I'm also a professional natural bodybuilder in the men's physique division. So this is something I practice what I preach. And today what I'm gonna do is show you how to step by step what I would personally do if I had to lose 30 pounds all over again. Now, this isn't some crash diet. This isn't some restrictive plan. This is a lifestyle shift that actually lasts. And the first thing that you need to do if you have 30 plus pounds to lose and you want to lose it fast is you have to get to a place of acceptance. So many people, if I ask them, how much do you weigh? They don't even know because they are afraid, they have fear of stepping on the scale. Why do they have fear of stepping on the scale? Because they don't want to face reality. There's a saying that you've probably heard before, it's called ignorance is bliss. So sometimes you have to literally get to the place where you accept this is my current state right now. And a couple ways you can do that is number one is you step on the scale and you face the reality of your weight. The second thing you do is take a progress photo of yourself. No shirt. Now, this isn't a picture you gotta post online or anything like that. By you taking a picture and you looking at that picture and being like, this is where I'm at, now you're gonna reach a point of acceptance. And sometimes you actually have to get angry at yourself. Sometimes that's what it takes to change. Sometimes you gotta be like, how did I let myself go? How did I get to this point? And what happens a lot of times when people get to this point is too many people waste energy being ashamed of their body. They're afraid. But the reality is you can't change from a place of shame. So I'm not trying to lose weight from a place of shame or regret. I'm trying to lose weight from a place of like conviction and motivation. This is where I'm at. I'm accepting it. I'm taking ownership and I'm ready to do whatever it takes to change this. You change from acceptance, not shame. What I would do after I reach a point of acceptance is I would define my why. Why do I want to lose weight? And losing weight has to be a lot deeper than I just want to look good. Do you want to lose weight so you can play with your kids more, so you can have more energy? Do you want to lose weight so you can avoid type 2 diabetes or hypertension or bad cholesterol later on in life? Do you want to lose weight so you can be confident again to start dating? If your why isn't strong enough, you ain't gonna last on this thing. You have to have what I like to call a deep level 2 why. So a level 1 why is, oh, I just wanna look good, I wanna lose some weight. A level 2 why is, I wanna have the energy to be able to keep up with my kids when I take them to the park after work. That's the type of motivation you need to stick with this thing to lose over 30 pounds. And once I have a deep-rooted conviction on my level 2 why, that's when I could start taking the action steps to lose the weight. The next thing I would do after I reach a place of acceptance in my why is I would master my nutrition. Because if you are trying to out-train a bad diet, it's not gonna last. Nutrition needs to be your number one focus. And if I didn't have time for my nutrition, I would literally cut out a workout to make time for it. So let's say right now you're like, I wish I had time to meal prep. I wish I had time to track my food. I wish I had time to cook a healthy meal. Cool, make the time. Because there's no greater ROI. There's no greater activity you can do than putting the time into your food. So let's say right now you're working out 4 times a week and you don't have time for your food, you need to cut out one of those workouts in so you can spend that extra hour on your nutrition. Let's say you're working out 3 times a week. I want you to take one of those workouts out so you literally only work out 2 times a week and spend that extra hour meal prepping, tracking your food, going to the grocery store. That is how important nutrition is. So many people think they could just go to the gym and they just hope and pray one day that their food will get fixed, but they never actually do it. Put the time in to master your food because nutrition leads to the biggest results in your body. Now that you know how important nutrition is for your weight loss goals, what do you do next? The first thing is you need to dictate what your calories are. Now there's a bunch of different strategies to figure out what calories you should eat. The easiest way to calculate your calories is to take your goal body weight and multiply that by 12. So let's say, for example, you weigh 230 pounds and you want to weigh 200 pounds. Just take 200 times it by 12, which equals 2,400 calories. And that's a really good starting point. Now, this isn't a perfect way to calculate the calories, but I think a lot of people get caught up on this thing. Like, how much should I eat? How much protein? Just literally take your goal body weight, times it by 12, start there, and then make the adjustments as you start to track your weight and your progress. The next thing you want to do is calculate what your protein should be. Now, an easy way to calculate protein is to take your goal body weight again and multiply it by 0.8 to 1 gram per pound of goal body weight. So if you want to weigh 200 pounds, then you should shoot to eat about 200 grams of protein, or on the lower end, 160 grams of protein. This is going to be a really easy way to calculate your calories and also your protein. When it comes to carbs and fats, a lot of people get caught up on this too. If your goal is strictly losing 30 pounds and you definitely want to build some muscle, I wouldn't stress too much about carbs and fats. Just fill in the rest of your calories with the carbs and fats after you calculate your calories and protein. So if you're eating 2,400 calories for 200 grams of protein, now you know that you have the rest of the calories after the 200 grams of protein to fill in with carbs or fats. If you prefer a heavier carb diet, then add more carbs in. If you prefer a heavier fats diet, add more fats in. It can get a lot more complicated than that, but I think for most people, they can see great results and great success by simply focusing on protein and calories. I'd nail my protein, I'd nail my calories, and then I would fill in the rest from there. Because the truth is, you cannot out-train a bad diet on the long term or on the short term. You could work out all you want, but if this right here isn't dialed in, you will just be wasting your time. And my philosophy is simple when it comes to figuring out my meals. Flexible dieting. Flexible dieting means I don't cut carbs, I don't cut pizza, I don't cut the foods I love. I focus on adding in foods I need and then fitting in foods I love in moderation while still staying consistent with my numbers. So if my goal is 2,400 calories and I'm following a flexible dieting approach, that means 90% of those 2,400 calories on a daily basis need to come from healthy, nutrient-dense foods. That also gives me 10% flexibility to eat foods that I love, or what I like to call fun foods. So 10% of those 2,400 calories is 240 calories. For most people, if you have 240 calories to spend on fun foods, you're gonna be able to sustain that for long periods of time. Now, what's a good example of this? Easy thing to do, make a protein smoothie for breakfast, have some type of lean protein option for lunch. This could be a chicken salad, this could be a chicken and rice bowl, depending on where your carbs and fats are for the day. And then for dinner, I'll eat something with my family without guilt. So I'll have like salmon, sometimes, for example, last night we literally had ground beef and sweet potato bowls. So I eat something with my family and then I will fill in the rest of my meals with protein-rich meals. An additional protein shake, Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, a protein bar. Keep it simple. Now, once I figure out my calories, I figure out my protein, I understand I'm gonna flexibly diet 90% of the time. I gotta figure out my meal structure. So how many meals per day am I going to eat? A lot of people get caught up on this as well. The truth is, it doesn't really matter if you eat 4 times a day or 6 times a day. What matters is, can you stay consistent? Personally, I would eat 4 to 5 meals per day, breakfast, lunch, dinner, and 1 or 2 snacks. They'd stay the same every single day. Why? Because I want to take the guesswork and the thinking out of my meals. The only meal that I would personally change would be my dinner. And the reason is because the more meal variety you have, the more room for error there will be. So try to figure out what is a breakfast I could eat every single day and still enjoy it. What is a lunch I could eat every single day and still enjoy it on a regular basis? What is a snack I can eat and still enjoy it? And then my dinners would swap out. Now, for some people, they're like, oh, this sounds so boring. I would never want to eat like that. But the thing that is boring is not seeing results. So would you rather be bored with your meals or see results with your body? And for me, the exciting thing is seeing the results. And so you can either choose excitement with food or excitement with the results. The choice is yours. Now, I still am able to give myself variety even though I do eat the same thing for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So for example, if I have a protein smoothie for breakfast, you know how many different variations of a protein smoothie I can make? I can make strawberry banana. I can make peanut butter and banana. I can make a berry smoothie. I could change my protein powder. So I got chocolate protein powder, vanilla protein powder, cookies and cream, peanut butter protein powder. So there's probably dozens of different variations of protein smoothies I can make for breakfast. If I'm having chicken for lunch, how many different types of chicken salads can you make? And so that's where the variety comes into play for me. I will also change things up with my seasonings, with my sauces to make sure that I still am getting some variety in my consistency with my meals. And the reason why I like to change my dinners is because dinner is where life happens. Eating out, family events, celebrations. So I like to plan for those things ahead of time. Everything else stays consistent to keep things simple. Now for breakfast, I would make sure I included at least 40 grams of protein to control hunger all day long. So breakfast smoothie, Greek yogurt bowl, eggs, all of those will help you control your hunger throughout the day and have more energy. Now, when it comes to hydration, here's how I would split up my water. So you want to make sure you're drinking about half your body weight in ounces of water per day. So if you weigh 200 pounds, about 100 ounces of water. If you weigh 250, around a gallon of water per day, which actually is easy when you split it up like this. When I wake up first thing in the morning, I want to have 20 to 30 ounces of water before I have any type of coffee. I have water between meals, so I make sure I have a big water jug with me. So mine is like 30 to 40 ounce water bottle that I carry with me everywhere I go. Drinking about 8 ounces of water before I eat, because studies show that when you drink water before eating, you actually end up eating less food. I also like to include water with my pre-workout before I go to the gym, intro workout during my workout, and then after my workout. And it makes drinking a gallon of water per day a breeze for me. So now that I figured out my nutrition, I want to dial in my training. And what I would do is work out at least a minimum of 3 times per week. I think people think, oh, I gotta work out 5 days a week or 6 days a week. You don't have to do that. You can see great results, lose 30 pounds, and do it fast while lifting weights 3 times a week. The key principle is I would focus on building muscle over fat loss. I used to do this all the time, and it was a massive mistake. I would go to the gym and I would look at my Apple Watch and I'd be like, oh, how can I burn as many calories as possible when I'm inside of the gym? And the truth is, your total daily calories you burn only account for about 5 to 10% in the gym. You wanna know where most of fat loss happens? Not in the gym, outside of the gym. So going to the gym and trying to burn a ton of calories, and this is why I'm not a massive fan of HIIT classes, is counterproductive, because the reality is most of fat loss does not happen inside of the gym during a workout for 1 hour. Most of fat loss happens outside of the gym the other 23 hours of the day. So if you're focused on that 1 hour workout, but you're not putting attention and energy towards the other 23 hours of the day, you will miss out on a lot of fat loss potential. I believe fat loss is overrated in the gym, and I believe building muscle is underrated. The truth is, anybody can lose weight, but the real cheat code to losing weight fast and keeping it off is muscle mass. Because if you lose weight, but you lose muscle because you didn't focus on muscle in the gym, you slow down your metabolism. And when you slow down your metabolism, you burn less calories at rest. Then you have to eat less and less calories in order to sustain the weight that you lost. So you see this a lot. People will lose weight and then they gain it back and they're wondering what happened was you focused on weight loss so much that you lost muscle in the process. The reason why muscle is so important, even if your goal is weight loss, is muscle makes you look leaner and it keeps the weight off long term. Now, when it comes to cardio, I believe I have a controversial opinion on this. I believe cardio is overrated for fat loss, but it's underrated for heart health. So instead of going to the gym and running and sprinting and doing all the crazy ellipticals and all this stuff, I would mainly focus on step counts outside of the gym. So I would walk about 8 to 10,000 steps per day, even more if I had to. So this is why I love walking, because you could do a lot of it. You could do 12,000, 13,000 steps a day and just melt body fat. And I would do cardio for my cardiovascular system mainly. So I still would do some cardio in the gym. I would do it not just to burn a ton of calories, I would do it for my overall heart health. Not because cardio is the fastest way to lose fat. And when I go to the gym, the metrics I track are not calories burned based on what my watch says, it's weights lifted. And I do more and more reps and I lift heavier and heavier weights. That's how you actually transform. So you got your training down, you got your nutrition down, you got your acceptance down. Now you need to master your recovery outside of the gym. Sleeping is the most underrated fat loss tool, hands down. People try to over-caffeinate themselves without even focusing on getting their minimum sleep requirements. Poor sleep increases cravings. So you might have these late night cravings you're struggling with that are causing you to overeat on your calories simply because you're not sleeping enough. It also lowers your energy. And so if I'm eating more food because my cravings are higher, I have less energy, which causes me to be less motivated to go to the gym and do my cardio. It also raises your stress hormones. It makes fat loss feel like you're pushing a boulder up a hill. So what I would do is I would actually put time, effort, and energy into my sleep. And it's crazy how many people neglect this in their life. Sleep is something you do a third of your life. So if you're not actually optimizing this, you're missing out on massive potential, not only in the gym, but outside of the gym too. Go to bed at the same time, have a cool, dark room, no screens an hour before bed. Think about it. If you wake up exhausted, you crave junk food, that will ruin your day. You might skip a workout, you might sabotage your plan. Sleep is the foundation for everything else. After I dialed into sleep, I would master my tracking and get some accountability. So the first step to losing 30 pounds is acceptance, right? So what I would do is I would weigh in 7 days per week and track weekly averages. A lot of people get unmotivated that they're not losing weight quick enough because they're not weighing themselves properly. They weigh themselves at the gym. They weigh themselves at night. They weigh themselves after a big meal. They weigh themselves on a leg day. So their weigh-ins are unpredictable and their weight progress is unpredictable. So what you want to do is weigh in 7 days a week, every morning, fasted. So what you might need to do is you might have to buy a scale to have at home. And what I do is I'll weigh in 7 days a week, add in all of those weigh-ins, take the average of that, and that is my weekly weight. Because on any given day, you can fluctuate 2, 3, 4, even 5 pounds just by doing nothing wrong. You could have lifted heavy yesterday, had a big leg workout, wake up the morning with some inflammation in your legs and you step on the scale and you weigh an extra 2 pounds. If you don't know that, you're gonna feel unmotivated, feel like it's not working. But the truth is, it's just water weight. So I would track my weigh-in 7 days a week, I would track my workouts, I would track my nutrition, and I would track my waistline, and I would take weekly progress photos. These right here will help me dictate if I'm seeing progress or not. A lot of people make the mistake where they only step on the scale to track their progress, but they're missing out on so many other factors that come into seeing progress. Sometimes you might not lose weight on the scale, but your inches go down. What that shows us is that you're losing fat and building muscle at the same time, which is a huge win. I would also journal my transformation. So I would not only track wins, but I would try to build awareness. So I would journal, okay, how am I feeling? Where's my motivation? Am I inspired? Am I not inspired? Do I have some red flags coming up where I need to fix these things? Because the biggest obstacle to your weight loss journey isn't necessarily the cardio, the nutrition, the recovery, but it's actually your mindset. So if you're not having awareness with that, you might be in danger. Another thing I would do is I would ask for help. I wouldn't just do this on my own, because if I want to lose over 30 pounds, it's going to be a journey. You're going to have ups and downs and moments where you want to quit, moments where you're like, what is going on? This isn't working. I'm at a plateau. So you need someone in your corner that can help push you throughout this journey. After I got my accountability and I started tracking my metrics, I would build a long-term mindset and exit strategy. So again, the weight loss is easy, the sustainability is hard. Most people overestimate what they can do in 12 weeks, but then they underestimate what they can do in 12 months. The real secret is not the 12 weeks of losing 30 pounds, it's what happens on the 12-month timeline. You need an exit strategy. Losing weight is easy, keeping it off is challenging. Why is it challenging? Because once you lose the weight, you feel like you won or you did it. No, you didn't. You did it and you won when you're able to sustain the weight you lost for months and years on end. I don't consider weight loss successful if someone is not able to sustain the weight they lost for years. So if someone's like, oh, this diet worked for me, but they regained the weight back, it didn't work. No. So what you need to do is create a game plan for maintenance. That looks like this: slowly raising your calories after hitting your goal weight, shifting focus to strength, performance, and lifestyle, keeping 80% of your routine the same. So it's not like, oh, I lost the weight, now I'm just gonna go back to what I was doing before, because that's gonna leave you back to where you started. So I try to keep my meal structure the same. I try to keep my sleep the same, my steps the same, all that stuff is the same. Maybe I just raise the calories a little bit. Build a lifestyle that doesn't feel like a diet. This is why most people regain the weight back, because they never plan for life after fat loss. But if you master the exit strategy, you'll keep it off for good. So that's exactly how I would lose 30 pounds and how I would keep it off. Nutrition first, muscle over fat loss, sleep as a recovery weapon, and a clear exit strategy. Remember, this isn't about perfection. You're gonna have moments on your journey where maybe you slip up, you fall backwards, you fail, but progress and perfection are not the same. It's about persistence and still pushing through even when you feel like quitting, and building skills you can sustain for life. And now if this gave you some clarity, what I want you to do is make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, share this with a friend. And if you want me to build you a step-by-step plan customized to your life, just check out the link in the description below and we'll chat to see if I can help.